My husband, Lord Julian, was on a campaign to the borderlands when he rescued the love of his life from enemy hands. This woman was frail and needed the nourishment of heart's blood. So I took chicken blood, bound a pouch of it to my chest, and proactively offered a bowl. My lord, it is nothing. As long as the princess can recover, I will do anything. Cough, cough. For 7 straight days, she drank 7 bowls of my blood. She recovered, but I was the one who could not hold on any longer. Before faking my death, I emptied his entire estate and went south to start a business. Years later, I heard a man knelt in the rain for an entire night just for a chance to see me. Simply because I resembled his late wife. I had always believed Julian loved me. 5 years ago, he married me with all the grand traditions, rescuing me from the living hell that was my family's estate. On countless nights, he would gently stroke my cheek, whispering in my ear, "Alara, you are good. You are truly so good." That was until I accidentally stumbled upon a hidden compartment in his study. Inside were Princess Aurelia's personal belongings and a letter she had left behind. The letter read, "Julian Alara, the daughter of Lord Merrick, is of good character, well-read, and gentle of temperament. Her stepmother treats her poorly, so my royal brother will not see this marriage as a threat. Marrying her would be a wise match. Only then can I go to Ardoria with peace of mind." So, the reason Julian married me was simply that I was the suitable wife Princess Aurelia had chosen for him. Now, our army had won a great victory against Ardoria, and Julian had brought back Princess Aurelia, who had been sent there in a political marriage 5 years ago. Upon her return, Princess Aurelia caught a chill. I was told her constitution was weak, and she had been unconscious ever since. So she was recuperating in the general's manner. Even so, Julian came to me. Alara, Princess Aurelia, sacrificed herself for the people by marrying into Ardoria. Now her health is damaged, and it is only right that we save her. After all, you have benefited from her protection, have you not? Yes, by his logic, who among the people of this kingdom hadn't? Though I was raised in seclusion, I had heard of the political marriage 5 years ago. Ardoria was just a small border nation, and when they rashly proposed a marriage alliance, our court naturally refused. Julian was the first to object. I didn't understand then, but now I realize it was because he couldn't bear to lose the woman he loved. At the time, the court had devised 2 strategies: diplomatic negotiation or military pressure. In either case, our kingdom was confident of success. But who would have thought that after meeting the king of Ardoria, Princess Aurelia would resolutely agree to the marriage? The reason she gave was moving. She did not want our envoys to toil, nor did she want the people to suffer the ravages of war on her account. Now her wish had been granted. The people lived in peace, but she had developed a wasting sickness that thinned her blood. A simple cold could render her unconscious. To be cured, she needed to consume the heart's blood of a woman of purest sun for 7 consecutive days. Otherwise, she would not survive the winter. I had never heard of human blood being used as medicine, and my birth chart just so happened to mark me as a woman of purest sun. It was so absurd. Yet Julian didn't even bother to verify its authenticity before coming to demand my blood. "Alara, be obedient." As he said this, his gaze darkened. Behind him, several guards subtly shifted their positions. It was clear that if I refused to give my blood, he would take it by force. I suppressed the bitterness in my heart. "Very well, I will be obedient." Julian remained in the room, not leaving. My hand, which had begun to unfasten my outer robe, paused. I managed a faint smile. "My lord, do you and your men intend to watch me disrobe? Could you not leave me a shred of dignity?" Julian looked as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he dismissed his men, leaving me alone. On the table were the knife and bowl he had brought. In my family home, although my stepmother was cruel, her torment was mental, never physical. Now, being asked to cut open my own chest, I didn't have the courage. But they were all waiting outside. If I didn't produce a bowl of blood, I certainly wouldn't be leaving this room today. I had no choice. Gritting my teeth, I drew the blade across my arm. Fresh blood dripped into the bowl. I then squeezed some more onto my dress, especially over the chest area. Hearing something fall, Julian burst through the door. I lay collapsed on the floor, pointing a trembling finger at the bowl of blood. My lord, it was my first time. I made a bit of a mess. I'll have more experience next time. Go quickly, save the princess. Julian walked out without a backward glance, as merciless as the governess who, succumbing to my stepmother's power, had abandoned me 10 years ago. Dark clouds obscured the sun. That tiny flicker of hope that he might show me pity was extinguished completely. It was fine. I was used to it. My maid, Chloe, was only allowed in after Julian had left. Seeing me covered in blood, she burst into tears. My lady, does it hurt? I'll fetch a doctor for you right away. Dr. Alistair from the Southern City Apothecary. Don't get the wrong one. Dr. Alistair had received kindness from my mother years ago. I was sure he wouldn't refuse to help me conceal a few things. My arm was wrapped in a thin layer of gauze, while thick bandages were wound around my chest. Dr. Alistair also prescribed some medicine to induce a fever. Lying in bed, I looked utterly weak. Without close inspection, my ruse was flawless. After all this was done, I had Chloe kill a chicken. After all, chicken soup helps replenish blood, and I planned to use the leftover chicken blood to deal with Julian tomorrow. Night fell. Perhaps due to the medicine, I grew feverish. In a daze, I dreamt of Julian. In the dream, Princess Aurelia had already been married off to Ardoria. He personally came to my family's home to propose. Julian had gone to war at 15 and made his name in a single battle at 20. As a young general, he had admirers all over the city. My stepmother, unwilling to let such a fine match fall to me, hesitated to agree. I, too, had no desire to marry into a noble house. There was no true affection among the nobility. My father was the best example. Less than a year after my mother's death, he welcomed a new wife. But Julian did not give up. On the anniversary of my mother's death, he secretly followed me when I went to the temple to offer incense. Before I entered, he stopped me, holding out a box of osmanthus cakes. I hear your late mother was fond of osmanthus cakes. I bought these specially from the Drunken Wind Pavilion, the first batch of the morning. When I didn't take them, he pushed the box closer. I waited in line for a long time, please. Take them to your future mother-in-law for me to try. With that, he shoved the cakes into my arms and ran off, leaving me blushing and muttering. Scoundrel. Indeed, a man with romantic experience knows best how to capture a heart. In this world, besides me, probably no one else remembered that my mother loved osmanthus cakes. In this roundabout way, he made me remember him. I thought he was the only stroke of luck I'd had since losing my mother. The clap of thunder, the dreamscape shifted like a spinning lantern. Julian, having gone through all the formal betrothal rites, knelt before me, vowing to treat me well for the rest of his life. The overwhelming red of the wedding decor felt suffocating. On our wedding night, Julian got drunk and slept in the study. He never touched me. The servants snickered, the noble ladies mocked me. The haze of the dream. I wanted to reach out and ask him why. He had promised to be good to me, so why did his demeanor change on the very first night? He didn't answer, didn't speak. I couldn't grasp him. 5 years is not so long, but not so short either. It was enough to wear away all my hysterics. I compromised. At least he hadn't taken any concubines and would occasionally grant me small moments of warmth. I thought this was just his way of loving. But the secret in his study was a sudden blow striking me down. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Fire!" I jolted awake. The dream was over. What happened? I asked. Chloe groggily went to the window to check. My lady, it seems Princess Aurelia's courtyard is on fire. The words had barely left her mouth when Julian rushed into my room, carrying Aurelia. Their clothes were in disarray. Upon seeing me, Aurelia shyly peeked out from Julian's arms, a blush on her cheeks. Oh, Alara dear, I am so sorry. Our courtyard caught fire. We were thinking of making do in another room, but Julian insisted on coming here. Would you mind moving? Julian spoke up as well. The doctor said the essence of the day and night would also aid the princess's recovery. The moonlight here is perfect. This was our bridal chamber. Of course, it was the best room, but not anymore. Julian offered no explanation for why he was tangled up with a princess who was supposedly recuperating in the manor. The servants who had followed them in kept their eyes lowered. They were the general's people. They wouldn't dare speak of what they saw. Only Chloe wanted to stand up for me, but I held her back firmly. If she wanted this room, she could have it. Right now, it was crucial to know our place. I couldn't afford to lose Chloe. Dragging my weak body, I stood and curtsied. My lord is right. I will pack my things at once. My complete obedience seemed to disappoint Aurelia. A flicker of dissatisfaction in her eyes. She had been doted on since birth, getting whatever she wanted. People on high pedestals love to see those below struggle and resist like ants. But ever since my mother died, I had been living on sufferance in my own home. Patience was the first lesson I learned in life. As we were packing to leave, Chloe was still fuming. My lady, you are letting them walk all over you. So, what if she is a princess? She is just a widow who lost her husband. The nerve of her to stay in the general's manor, and to be with the general like that, shameless. There was no one else around, and her voice was low, so I didn't stop her. As we passed the burnt ruins, I noticed a layer of white frost on a fallen beam, emitting the faint smell of saltpeter. A bitter smile touched my lips. It seemed the fire had been deliberately set. It was a chance to assert her dominance over me. Aurelia wanted to see me heartbroken, to see me weep, and then to look down on my defeat from her victor's perch. But she didn't know that the more she behaved this way, the less I wanted to play her game. I would find a way to leave. I refused to be the touchstone for their love. The next day, I heard from the servants that Aurelia had sneezed all night and had dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep. She was complaining to Julian, insisting I had deliberately given her inferior bedding. But one must choose the right time to seek justice. When he burst angrily through the door of my guest room, I had just picked up the knife and aimed it at my chest. I was waiting for this very moment. My lord, don't worry. I will draw the blood as quickly as possible. His anger, upon hearing my words, transformed into a sliver of guilt, and he completely forgot he had come to confront me. Perhaps he couldn't bear to watch the scene. He answered with a curt, "All right," and turned his back. I had placed a piece of pork under the blood pouch. As the tip of the knife pierced it, there was a sound like flesh tearing. Julian's figure seemed to waver. My hand trembled, and blood splattered everywhere, but it was a cleaner job than yesterday. This time, I pointed at the bowl, tears welling in my eyes. See, my lord, I truly have more experience than yesterday. Take it to the princess, quickly. Julian took the blood. He wasn't as heartless as the day before. He paused at the threshold and actually offered an explanation. Aurelia and I have a deep history. The royal family is unwilling to accept her now, given her status, but I cannot abandon her. I lowered my eyes, and 2 tears plopped to the floor. My lord, you don't need to explain to me. The princess will always be my elder sister. As expected, Julian's figure wavered again. You don't ask me why. I continued in a low voice. A husband's word is law. It is not my place to ask. It is for the best that you think so. Though Aurelia is older than you, she has a delicate nature. You must be more accommodating to her in the future. Yes, I will remember. After he had gone, I wiped the blood from the knife and, looking at my reflection on the blade, managed a small, cold smile. Of course, I would be accommodating to her. Very accommodating indeed. Soon after, Chloe came in, patting her chest. My lady, did everything go smoothly? I gave her a thumbs up. After changing my clothes, I applied more powder to my face, to make it look even paler. I had mixed something into the blood beforehand, to make it smell just like human blood. Now, did you take care of the other matter I asked of you? I asked. Chloe secretly pulled a jade bangle from her sleeve, which she had retrieved from Dr. Alistair. Of course, my lady. I always handle the tasks you give me. They disgust me. force me to self-harm for blood, and expect me to live happily with them. What an absurd fantasy. That afternoon, I had Chloe spread the word. Despite the daily bloodletting, I was fortunate to have a jade bangle left by my mother, a rare ancestral ice jade that nourished the body, which was why my health hadn't deteriorated severely. I calculated how long it would take for this rumor to reach Aurelia's ears. I estimated she would come to me within 2 days. And just as I predicted, on the 3rd day, Aurelia came swaying into my courtyard. In the dim candlelight that night, nestled in Julian's arms, I hadn't gotten a good look at her. I hadn't realized life in Ardoria had been so nourishing. Aurelia was far from her delicate self of years past. She was now quite buxom. Julian wasn't around, so she dropped her saccharine act. "Elara dear, I've been wanting to visit you, but Julian keeps saying the wind is too strong and won't let me go out." Her words were barbed, and she kept glancing at my face, as if to test whether my meek submission that night had been an act. I noticed the scabbard of a sword peeking out from behind the wall. It belonged to one of Julian's trusted guards. He really doted on her, leaving a guard by her side even when he was at court. For now, Aurelia was likely unaware. "Cough, cough. You are too kind, Your Highness. The general is only concerned for your well-being." Then I turned to Chloe. "Go at once and fetch the fox fur cloak from my room for the princess. The spring breeze can be chilly. If the princess catches a cold, I will hold you responsible." Cough, cough. The heavy fox fur cloak was draped over Aurelia's shoulders. Chloe didn't hold back, and the weight of it made Aurelia's knees buckle, nearly forcing her to the ground. I hadn't done anything wrong, had I? The cloak was a gift from Julian before our marriage. Back then, I was mistreated by my stepmother, and had no new clothes even in the dead of winter. After our encounter at the temple, I cherished the thought of him, and no matter how cold it got, I couldn't bear to wear the cloak, afraid of soiling it and losing it forever. And look now. The cloak is still new, but it is already tainted. I don't want it anymore. Aurelia was at a loss. Wearing the cloak was awkward, but taking it off was too. The situation only fueled her arrogance. "Since you are so thoughtful, sister, why not give me that ice jade bangle on your wrist as well? It looks like a rare treasure." Of course, it is rare. The ice jade is real, and it is an heirloom. Even the medicinal solution it was soaked in is made of rare ingredients. If worn for a long time, this bangle would cause the wearer's skin to itch and ache, but leave no marks or swelling, nor would it be fatal. The only medicine that could alleviate the pain was available exclusively from Dr. Alistair. I had intended to give it to Aurelia all along, but I couldn't make it too obvious. So I immediately hid my hand behind my back, protecting the bangle, and took a step back. "Your Highness misunderstands. This bangle is nothing special. If you like jewelry, I have others in my room." My anxious demeanor thoroughly piqued her possessiveness. She closed the distance in 3 strides, cornering me against the wall. She forcefully grabbed my arm and ripped the ice jade off. "Give it here!" In that moment, Aurelia looked nothing like someone suffering from a wasting sickness. As the bangle left my wrist, I lost my footing and fell heavily to the ground. The pouch on my chest still contained some chicken blood, which burst from the pressure, staining my front a deep red. I fainted. Aurelia panicked. With my eyes closed, I heard her telling Chloe, "It has nothing to do with me. Why didn't she just give me the bangle?" Her footsteps receded. Only then did I slowly open my eyes. Chloe was trying to suppress a smile. I quickly squeezed her hand. "Stay calm. Don't let your guard down." I wasn't sure if Julian's man had left yet. Chloe, ever in sync with me, immediately wiped the smile off her face and adopted a look of profound grief. "Oh, my lady, you mustn't have anything happen to you. If something happens to you, Chloe won't live either." The girl was being a bit dramatic, but the exaggeration had its merits. It turned out that Julian's guard had indeed still been there, and in his presence, the 2 conflicting stories worked in my favor. I knew this because I later heard from the servants that Julian was furious when he returned. All of Aurelia's attendants were beaten for allowing her to wander out on her own. And now a large chest of gold and jewels sat before me. Chloe was mesmerized. "My lady, how much silver would this fetch?" Indeed, he punished her servants and sent me so much money, yet he couldn't bear to make Aurelia return my bangle. Since you two are so deeply in love, you really can't blame me for what comes next. Cough, cough. Take some. Just a little. Put it in the storeroom and then go prepare tomorrow's chicken blood. Right away, my lady. Wait, leave out 2 of the more beautiful hairpins. I'll wear them tomorrow. On the 6th day of bloodletting, without the protection of the ice jade, my body was supposed to be even weaker. I had Chloe alter my clothes to be larger, making me look even more emaciated when I wore them. From the jewelry Julian sent, I chose the largest hairpins to wear, a stark, mismatched contrast to my sickly face. Julian hadn't come to collect the blood himself these past 2 days. Today was his day off, and with the matter of the bangle, I thought he would come. But it was the manor steward who arrived instead. "My lady, the general was on his way to see you, but the princess tripped and injured her foot. He specifically asked me to tell you that he will visit later. He also said that you should rest well. Your health is the most important thing." Hearing the steward's words, a wave of dejection and sorrow washed over me. Overcome with emotion, I clutched my chest and coughed violently. A trickle of blood seeped from the corner of my mouth onto a white handkerchief. "My lady, you are?" This was plan B. If Julian didn't come, I would cough up blood for whoever did. "It is nothing. Cough. It is not serious. An old ailment. Please, hurry and take this to the princess." The steward sighed. His heart filled with pity as he carried the bowl of blood away. That evening, Julian actually came. I was sitting by the window, gazing at the moon, my arm extended to gently touch a low-hanging branch. Suddenly, a weight settled on my shoulders. I turned to see Julian had taken off his own cloak and draped it over me. "The night air is cool. Why aren't you wearing more?" I feigned a little shock, but mostly delight. "The steward said you would be coming later, my lord. More clothes would be bulky, and I was worried I wouldn't look presentable." After speaking, I shyly lowered my gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. The angle. The words Chloe and I had rehearsed this for 2 hours. It was a perfect picture of fragile beauty. Even a passing dog would have felt a pang of sympathy. Sure enough, Julian gently pulled me into his embrace and sighed deeply. "Tomorrow is the last bowl of blood. Once you've recovered, I will take you to see the peach blossoms." All right. He remembered wrong. I don't like peach blossoms. I like crabapple blossoms. On the final day of the bloodletting, Julian came to collect the bowl himself. When he arrived, I was already asleep. Chloe was tucking me in, her eyes red and swollen. Seeing her state, Julian asked why she was crying. Chloe sniffled. "My lord, after you left last night, my lady insisted on sewing an inner shirt for you herself. Her health has been poor, and after giving blood today, she doesn't even have the strength to speak." Nonsense. It is not as if there are no tailors in the manor. "But I couldn't persuade her yesterday, my lord," she said. She said what? Julian pressed, a hint of urgency in his voice. Chloe replied, "My lady said that for the past 5 years, she has always made your inner shirts. She was afraid you wouldn't be comfortable if someone else made them." Chloe wasn't lying. For 5 years I had indeed made all his inner shirts. I thought it was a romantic gesture for a husband to wear clothes made by his wife. He rarely spoke to me after we were married, so I never told him about these small things. Last night, when he gave me his cloak, I noticed a small tear in the inner shirt he was wearing, which gave me the idea. With my eyes closed, I couldn't see the expression on Julian's face as he left. It was likely a mix of heartache and something more. Julian began to change towards me. He actually started joining me for dinner. In the past, I would have been overjoyed. Now, well, I was still happy, but only because my plan to make him care was working. This way, when I left, I could at least plunge a sharp knife into his heart. The kitchen staff brought our meal. I happily served him food. We were not even halfway through the meal when one of Aurelia's servants burst in, saying she had accidentally knocked over a candlestick and burned her hand. Julian slammed his chopsticks on the table in a rare show of anger. Is she a child? If she is burned, call a doctor. Why come to me? All she does is demand. Despite his words. After the servant left, he was clearly distracted. Alara, my lord, you should go and see our sister, I interrupted him. But I promised to have dinner with you. I helpfully provided him with an excuse. My lord, our sister has a delicate nature. The burn must be severe for her to send for you. You should go. It is just one meal. We can eat together tomorrow. My words seemed to make Julian feel a bit ashamed. Alara, it is wonderful that you are so understanding. I will definitely dine with you tomorrow. He paused at the door and actually looked back at me. We gazed at each other from a distance, and I offered him a smile. Aurelia knocking over the candlestick was no accident. The ice jade on her wrist had started to take effect. Unable to bear the itching and pain, she had been flailing about and knocked it over. I stood outside in the courtyard, watching the main residence lit up brightly in the distance. She must be in a lot of pain, I thought. Doctors were not easy to summon at night. The few who went in all came out shaking their heads. They fussed over her until midnight but couldn't diagnose the problem. Julian, assuming she was faking it, grew impatient and hid himself away in his study. It reminded me of what I'd heard about common couples who couldn't afford a wet nurse. When the baby cried, the husband would often find another room to escape the noise. The next day, hearing the news from his peers, Dr. Alistair volunteered to diagnose Aurelia. It wasn't long before he wrote out a prescription filled with expensive herbs, 2 of which were exclusively available at his apothecary. Aurelia, tormented by the pain, spent all she had to buy the medicine. She had returned from Ardoria with no money. It was all from Julian. 1 dose of the medicine brought immediate relief. Only then did Julian believe she wasn't faking, and he spent the next few days doting on her, completely forgetting his promise to dine with me. The peach blossoms in the capital bloomed early, and many had already withered. But on the Cloud Mountains, the crabapple blossoms were in full bloom. Since the poison from the ice jade was now coursing through Aurelia's system, there was no need for me to stay in the general's manor any longer. Dr. Alistair gave me a black pill. After a normal dinner one evening, I began to vomit blood uncontrollably, and breathed my last. At that moment, Julian had just finished comforting Aurelia, and they were enjoying a boat ride on the lake. By the time the news reached him, Chloe was already kneeling by my bed, sobbing. The pill suppressed my breathing and senses, leaving only my hearing and sense of touch. Julian's voice echoed in my ears. Alara is just sleeping again. Chloe touched her forehead to the floor, the sound thudding loudly. General, my lady is gone. Good girl. My heart ached for her. I hope that didn't hurt too much. The air seemed to freeze. No, I couldn't smell the air anyway. But it was eerily quiet. Then, a shattering sound came from beside me. My bed was close to the table. Julian must have dropped a teacup. A moment later, I heard laughter. What do you mean, gone? Explain yourself. How could she be gone? His tone was so disbelieving that the others in the room must have been pale with fear. But Chloe was not afraid of him. She lifted her head and wiped her tears. General, my lady's body was already weak from the daily bloodletting, and without the ice jade to protect her, fainting was common. A while ago, you said you would take her to see the peach blossoms, and only then did her spirits lift. You promised to dine with her, and for the past few days, she had me set 2 places at the table, but every day she waited, and every day you did not come. The peach blossoms have all withered, and still, you did not come. She did well to remember so many lines. I silently gave her a thumbs up. Her accusations piled up, and Julian could no longer laugh. I heard footsteps slowly approaching. A familiar, nauseating scent drew near. He was a general, accustomed to slaughter on the battlefield. He knew what death looked like. A hesitant hand reached out, first checking for breath under my nose, then moving to my neck. I couldn't see his expression, but I could feel his fingertips trembling with increasing urgency. Then, a warm drop of liquid fell onto my face. Was he crying? It didn't matter. Belated affection is cheaper than dirt. I would grind him into the dust and let him rot in the earth. Alara, you promised me. Once you were well, we would go see the peach blossoms together. You have always been so obedient. Why are you not being good today? I really didn't like hearing him say these things. I would have preferred he talk about how many burial gifts he would give me. As he cried, he noticed the bloodstain on my collar. He became frantic, grabbing the fabric and trying to wipe it clean. Be good, Alara. I'll clean it for you and then we'll wake up. All right. He pulled and wiped, and no one dared to stop him. Then, with a bit too much force, he ripped off a large piece of my clothing. A cool breeze touched my chest. Chloe quickly rose from the floor, took off her own outer robe, and draped it over me. Her tone, General, the lady is gone. I beg you, leave her some dignity. Julian's voice trembled even more violently than before. It has been half a month since the bloodletting. Why hasn't the wound on her chest healed? Oh, of course it couldn't heal. I had specially created it with chicken blood and rouge. The doctor standing nearby finally spoke up. General, taking blood from the heart drains one's very essence. Repeatedly cutting open the same wound makes it difficult to heal over time. The lady's passing is related to this. A surge of grief and sorrow overwhelmed her, causing her to vomit blood and die. Another warm drop fell on my face, sliding towards my ear. It was me. It is all my fault. I killed Alara. I killed her. Chloe probably couldn't stand his so-called repentance any longer. She took a letter from her sleeve and handed it to Julian. General, my lady wrote this for you last night. To set the mood, Chloe and the others left the room, leaving just him and me. He unfolded the letter. It wasn't long, just 1 page. Julian, for my entire life, I have followed the rules. Only now do I dare to be willful and call you by your name. Do you remember when Princess Aurelia first arrived, and you asked me why I didn't question it? I replied that a husband's word is law. Truth, I already knew then that you married me because I was the suitable wife the princess had chosen for you. I envy the princess for having such a fine man to protect her, and I thank her, for without her, how would I have had the fortune to be your wife? Julian, I love you. Even if you do not love me, it doesn't matter. I have no regrets. I am sorry. My body cannot recover. I cannot go with you to see the peach blossoms. Please let Princess Aurelia see them for me. Oh, and the family ancestral tombs are desolate. There are no flowers there, and I don't like it. Since I am being willful, allow me one more indulgence. Could you bury me somewhere where the peach blossoms bloom? Also, Chloe has no living relatives. With me gone, she will not want to stay. Please let her leave the manor. Give her my dowry. Julian, I have no other requests. I wish you and the princess a long and happy life together. From Alara, with her last breath. I never believe a man can suddenly become deeply devoted to someone. Julian's tears over my corpse were more a product of the guilt I had carefully cultivated these past weeks. Coffin was placed in the ancestral. Chloe stood vigil for me. Before the coffin was sealed, she secretly gave me water every day. Julian came to see me a few times, but once he was called away by Aurelia again. I heard her arm was hurting. She had taken many medicines, but only Dr. Alistair's prescription worked. It cost another large sum of money. She had little money left, so Julian had to pay. On the day of the funeral, Aurelia's arm acted up again. Dr. Alistair had timed the dosage perfectly. Julian was supposed to see me off, but he was delayed in Aurelia's courtyard. Dr. Alistair stroked his beard as he carefully checked her pulse. May I ask, my lady, have you ever consumed the blood of a living person? He hadn't asked this during the previous 2 consultations. I have. She has, Julian answered for her. Dr. Alistair's face showed sudden realization. An affront to nature. Using living blood is a dark, forbidden practice. If consumed for 3 consecutive days, the body will suffer a backlash. Not even the gods themselves could save you then. I didn't drink that much. Can I be saved? Aurelia blurted out. Julian froze. What did you say? Realizing her slip, Aurelia stammered. You speak, Julian commanded one of her maids. The maid, intimidated by his authority, dared not lie. "General, except for the first day, the princess. The princess ordered me to secretly pour out the rest of the blood." Julian stood there, paralyzed, unable to believe his ears. "So, from the very beginning, your wasting sickness was a lie to deceive me, wasn't it?" Aurelia immediately adopted a fawning expression and tried to grab his sleeve. "Julian, I didn't mean to. She had you for 5 years. I just wanted to teach her a little lesson. Who knew she was so fragile? It was just a little blood, and she died. A lesson, huh? Smack. Jet out." Julian slapped her across the face. "I wasn't being buried in the ancestral tombs, so there was no need for a grand ceremony. No one from my family came to see me off." The pallbearers suddenly stopped. It was Julian calling my name. "Alara, I failed you. Alara, don't go. I am begging you. Please don't leave me. I'll take you to see the peach blossoms. I'll dine with you every day. We'll have a flock of children." His hysterics made him sound like a madman. Chloe, worried he would delay my awakening, dropped to her knees before him with a thud. "General, I beg you, let my lady go. If we miss the auspicious hour for burial, she will not find peace in the afterlife." Aurelia arrived as well, ignoring her swollen cheek, and ordered the guards to take Julian away. The newly packed earth was loose. With Dr. Alistair's help, Chloe didn't have to work too hard to dig me out. They opened the coffin. Hearing their voices, I felt a deep sense of peace. Dr. Alistair fed me a second pill, and I slowly opened my eyes. The grave was restored. Chloe and I didn't leave the capital immediately. Instead, we went to Dr. Alistair's home. He was in his 40s but had never married and lived alone. The 3 of us did a rough calculation. My dowry, burial goods, and the medical fees collected from Aurelia amounted to about 300,000 silver taels. When I managed the household finances, I knew the manor had at most 30,000 in liquid assets. This meant that, including Julian's salary for the month, there was probably only about 50,000 taels left in his coffers. One more extortion for Aurelia's medicine, and we could take it all. It was more money than Chloe and I could spend in several lifetimes. I intended to give half to Dr. Alistair for his immense help, but he refused. "Miss Alara," I was startled. I had grown so used to being called Lady Julian that I had almost forgotten my own name. "Your eyes are very much like your mother's. When I was young, my family fell on hard times. It was she who gave me a golden hairpin and encouraged me not to give up on life. She fell ill so suddenly, and though I studied medicine diligently, I could not save her. It is the greatest regret of my life. But thankfully, fate has allowed me to help you. Miss Alara, you owe me no thanks. Nothing I have done can compare to the kindness your mother once showed me." As the sun set, I thought I saw a tear in the corner of Dr. Alistair's eye. It didn't fall, but it was far more heart-wrenching than Julian's loud wailing. 2 years later, chaos erupted on the border, and Julian was ordered to lead the campaign. By then, Chloe and I had established a medicinal herb business in the south. We only learned about the war from our suppliers. I never expected that the King of Ardoria had survived Julian's great victory. After years of regrouping, he had returned, raising an army to stir up trouble on the border. The campaign had been going on for over 2 weeks. Victory should have been assured, but someone had stolen our army's defensive maps. The culprit, they said, was the former Queen of Ardoria, the rescued Princess Aurelia. She had stolen the maps to defect to her former husband. Now, our army had suffered heavy casualties and was in dire need of medical supplies. The soldiers had ranks, and the supplies they bought were also graded. The best and most expensive were for the generals. So, apart from the most expensive medicines, I didn't charge for anything meant for the common soldiers. I considered it a good deed. The war lasted for 2 full months. Julian may have been a scoundrel in love, but he was undeniably a brilliant military commander. Even with the defensive maps stolen, he managed a stunning counterattack. He captured the King of Ardoria and Aurelia alive, preparing to take them back to the capital for the Emperor's judgment. I heard that on the way back, Aurelia's arm pain flared up. Combined with the rough journey, and without anyone to protect her, She was frequently mistreated by the escorting soldiers. During a moment when no one was watching, she bit her tongue and ended her life. The body of a traitor could not be interred in the royal mausoleum, and was ultimately thrown into a mass grave. Another half a month passed. I was taking inventory when Chloe rushed in, grabbing my hand to pull me away. "It is bad, ma'am. The General, Lord Julian, he has come south with the Emperor." I thought it was something serious and lightly tapped her on the head. "Calm down. He is here to guard the Emperor. What are the chances he'll find me?" My words were a jinx. He found his way to my apothecary. He stopped one of the clerks and asked if the owner's name was Alara. Of course not. I wasn't foolish enough to continue using my old name. I had a new one now, proud owner of a thriving apothecary, Agnes Miller. After all, the more common the name, the less suspicion it raises. Just as I thought, when Julian heard the name Agnes, he didn't linger and left. The South was known for its rain. "Ma'am, he is kneeling outside." I pushed the window open a crack and looked down. Julian hadn't left. He had circled back. Vaguely, I could see he was holding a peach blossom branch. He was soaked through, but the flower was still dry. He still didn't know I disliked peach blossoms. I pretended not to see him, but passers-by couldn't help but point and whisper. Kneeling in front of an apothecary late at night. People who didn't know better might think he'd had a bad reaction to my medicine, and was here to cause a scene. So annoying. I threw on a cloak and went out with an umbrella. Hearing the movement, Julian held out the peach blossom branch like a prize. "Alara, it really is you. I am not dreaming. It is really you." I frowned and took 2 steps back, avoiding his touch. "Sir, you must have the wrong person. My name is not Alara." Julian didn't believe me, of course. I didn't expect him to. It was just for show. "Alara, I know you are angry with me. Angry that I neglected you for Aurelia. Angry that I made you give your blood. You have every right to be. As long as you come back with me, you can hit me, curse me, anything. I'll do whatever you ask." "Is that so?" A flicker of hope appeared in Julian's eyes. I took a small porcelain bottle from my sleeve. "Swallow. What is inside this? Come back for me in a month, and I'll go with you." "This..." Julian hesitated. I sneered. "Just a moment ago, you said you would do anything. Now you won't even take a single pill. You hypocrite." "I'll take it. I'll take it." After watching him swallow the pill, I said, "Open your mouth. Let me check." Julian complied. After he left, Chloe asked me what I had given him. Nothing much. Just something to activate the poison of the ice jade. He hadn't worn the bangle, but Aurelia had. Through their physical union, his body would have been tainted as well. If it happened only a few times, there would be no effect. But if it happened many times, especially with the pill I gave him, the best-case scenario was impotence. The worst was a sudden, violent death. I just didn't know how many times they had been. In love in the 2 years since I left. I had originally planned to let him be. If he hadn't come to disturb me, I wouldn't have harmed him. But now, he had insisted on bothering me, kneeling in front of my shop, and disrupting my business. He could only blame me for being ruthless. A month later, Julian did not come for me. The journey from the south to the capital was long, and news traveled slow. Whether he was now impotent or dead, it had nothing to do with me anymore. One day, Chloe came to me with a mischievous grin, telling me she had hired some new clerks. I didn't think much of it. A few more mouths to feed were well within our budget. Who knew that when she brought them to see me that evening, I would be so shocked my blood pressure spiked. "Greetings, boss." A dozen or so young men stood in 2 rows, bowing to me in unison. "Chloe, don't you run. Get back here."